One of the wisest quotes that I've come to hear in my life, but that also took me many years to understand and wrap my head around, is one that I'm sure you've heard before. And I'll paraphrase it. And it goes, fools learn from their own mistakes, right? What's the second part? Wise men learn from the mistakes of others, right? And this was a quote, as I said earlier, it took me a while to really align with, to really wrap my head around, because as a young man, I'm in my late 20s now, 28, I really grasped the quote maybe 3 years ago or so. Because as a young man, a young ambitious man, sometimes people will give you advice, and I was always a student of advice, and many times you hear certain kernels of advice and you say, well, I want to experience it for myself, right? I don't necessarily want to rely on what you have to say, because maybe you went about something differently than maybe I would. And I do think there's a lot of truth to that, right? Some people project their own feelings onto you, but there is also a lot of wisdom in that quote. And here's, where it's been helpful for me as I kind of think about it and examine how I go about life, with it in mind. I think one of the greatest challenges and opportunities in life, provided that quote is our framework, is the ability to meet people, experience people, talk to people, study people, whether in person or online or in a book or in a newspaper. There's so much examples. There's so much of a sample pool that we can draw from, that it's become increasingly easier to really put people, and I'm not a fan of this, but it's helpful in this regard, so stay with me. Because of all of these different avenues of context on the human experience, what we can now do is put people in certain buckets. What do I mean by that? Put people in buckets. What are you talking about, Trey? You're judging people? No, I'm not judging people. What I am saying is there's certain story arcs or character arcs that people ultimately live out, right? It's kind of like in your day-to-day interactions. You might meet a total stranger, but you can say, oh, you're that type of person, right? You just kind of get them. You kind of know the different traits and maybe the things they say or do, the way they act. You can kind of get a feel or read on someone, as they say. And the same can be said about how someone leads their life. So there's only a limited amount of character arcs that people could lead in their life. And I think, again, the challenge and the opportunity is to really get a good understanding of those different arcs, number one. And then number two, in terms of your own personal and professional development and just life journey, figure out what arc, or which arc better, you're currently on. Are you happy with your arc? Are you satisfied? Are you unhappy? Would you like to change? So once you examine what type of arc you're on, then take some time to reflect and think about what other arcs there are out there, right? It can be an arc of someone you've read about. It can be your friend's arc. It can be a family member's arc. And really take note. Take note of the different habits that they've developed, so some of the choices they made, and really take that time to figure out how you might be able to apply some of those elements to your own life and possibly change the arc you're on, right? So instead of being combative with people or jealous or envious, as I mentioned in an earlier video, become curious and really take in what type of arc that they're living in and living on, and see if you can, in your own way, do the same. So that was some of the wisdom that I learned from that quote, right? Fools learn from their own mistakes. Wise men learn from the mistakes of others. Read that quote. Listen to this video again. Let me know what you think. I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.